So you're ready to move on from Hot Wheels. You're just tired of the price point of Hot Wheels continuing to go up, whether it's from a retail standpoint or a secondary market standpoint. There are better brands out there that are collector grade, that have more details, have better quality, such as Tarmac Works, Eno 64, Pop Race, or I think everybody's go-to when it comes to collector grade 164 is Mini GT. In Kaido House specifically, I mean, this, for example, is the Lamley Poles #1 diecast for 2023, the Kaido House Nissan Skyline R33. But there's a lot of validity as to why people are making the move over to Mini GT and Kaido House, because let's just take a look at this beauty. Again, the Nissan Skyline R33. Version 1 in purple, midnight purple, with these deep dish wheels, a very aggressive wide body kit, but it still does maintain a stock form like the spoiler, the rear bumper, the front bumper. It's pretty much the classic R33 front lip, and you know, all the subtle accents of carbon fiber everywhere. I mean, this is a jewel of sorts, a piece of art. If anything, guys, I mean, it's not realistic, but that's never the intent of how Jun and Mai designs these cars. I mean, he's basically designing these to how our minds would like to take these cars to the max potential. And he really does capture all of our imaginations with these cars. And from a retail price standpoint, these Mini GT Kaido houses are selling for about $15 to $20. Whereas that's basically what you're spending on, for example, the Zamac R33 from Hot Wheels on the secondary market. So if you're weighing out the pros and cons, you get way more details with this little Mini GT than you are with Hot Wheels. So it's kind of a no-brainer, which again re-emphasizes why people are making the switch over to collector grade Mini GTs, Kaido houses, etc. So let's just dive a little deeper into the Mini GT Kaido House brand to see what else you get from a diecast standpoint. Well, we've already established that the mainline regular releases are crazy detailed. I would argue to the level of Hot Wheels RLC, but you also do get the added bonus and potential of getting chase pieces. And from what I can gather online, it's 1 out of 24, which would be a full case of Mini GT releases. You would get a chase piece. A lot of times, as we've seen in the past, it would be a raw chase piece, or as of late, Jun and Mai has elected to just change out the wheels, which would signify that it is a chase piece, kind of like this Mini GT Kaido House 510 wagon, which is in raw. And if a raw chase doesn't strike your fancy, well, Jun and Mai and the Kaido House brand has also branched into a lot of car shows and convention pieces over the last couple of years. Like JCCS, there was an exclusive Datsun 510 wagon as well as a Silverado. I know for Tokyo Auto Salon, there was a specific special car that they released for that event, as well as some other Japan and China conventions. And just this past November, Jun and Mai teamed up with Mini GT, and in relief of the Maui wildfires in Hawaii, they even created charity models of the Nissan Skyline and Silvia with Mini GT that were very limited in quantity, had really cool graphics, and those all sold in the $3,000 to $3,500 price points, some of them even higher, because again, it was all for the sake of charity. And I unfortunately was one of the poor souls who tried to get one of those exclusive charity model Nissan Skyline Kaido houses, and I failed. I mean, I topped out at $3,200 on the eBay bids, and I believe it sold at $3,250. So I was short $50, but to be fair, I'm sure whoever won probably put a higher bid in than $4,000 in all honesty. But to make up for it, I did get the next best thing. Jun and Mai and Kaido House also offer a web limited, black limited of these very sought after Mini GT models. And here I have the R33 black limited out of 250. This is number 226. And what's really cool about these black limited models is that they do come autographed by Junimai himself. So let's get this bad boy cracked open and just see what this is all about in comparison to the original purple version. So as the release name would suggest, the black limiteds do come in a black color. I mean, it's essentially identical in detail and tampo work to the original purple version. All Kaido houses do come with this brilliant neochrome base, which is so iconic for Mini GT. But man, it really does look good. Wow. I mean, again, all the cool details that you saw in the original release, but just all in black, which just looks great. Kind of reminds me of how Hot Wheels does their premium chases, all in black as well. Let's try to get this hood popped open so we can see those details as well. And that's one thing that Mini GT does really well, is that it does have opening hood, does have that classic RB26 on the inside. Again, I've talked about this with Mini GTs, but the one thing that I really am nervous when it comes to Mini GT is these plastic mirrors here. They always feel like they're gonna break, so I always try to keep my fingers from touching them. But man, what a cool chase piece. And I think my favorite feature of this chase piece is those DieCash green tail lights there, which I'm sure Junimai did that, you know, based on the inspiration of the Infinity tail lights that a lot of aftermarket builders have been putting on their R32s and R33s. So I think that's just really cool. But for this chase piece, I picked this up on the secondary market for about $400. I also got an R34 chase piece along with it, but they're typically selling in that $350 to $400 price point, retail price point wise. If you're lucky enough to be on the Kaido House website and get this directly from Mini GT and Junimai, it's about $250. So either way, you're spending a pretty penny on this 164 web limited chase piece of sorts. So final verdict time, are you making the switch from Hot Wheels to Mini GT and Kaido House based on everything that that brand has to offer? I mean, I'm not here to persuade you one way or another. I know a lot of you are already making that transition. Me personally here on Diecast Cars, I can't do it. Not yet. It's not to say that I'm not going to collect some Mini GT models, but I'm not willing to completely dump all of my Hot Wheels, sell them all, get rid of them, whatever, and move on to the collector grade of Mini GT, even though I will admit they are very nice and they have a lot of details and a lot of quality. I think the big thing for me is that I like my collection in high quantities. I like to look at a big variety of things. I'm not seeing a ton of variety with Mini GT Kaido House just yet. I mean, there is, in all honesty, about 30 or 40 different castings that Junimai cycles through and recolors, which is great, but I can only look at one particular casting so much. On top of that, the price point retail wise at $15 to $20 a piece is still a little steep for me. When you compare that to the dollar price points that we're able to get Hot Wheels at, it's still a little too much for me to make that jump. I will also say that the buy-sell trade aspect of Hot Wheels is still alive and well, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon, and that is part of the hobby, guys, that I really enjoy. And from what I've seen with Mini GT, it's a little bit harder to buy, sell, and trade Mini GTs because I think the brand is still a little too new. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of scarcity, at least for the regular mainline releases for Mini GT and Kaido House. They seem pretty readily available at your local hobby shops, and you can pick them up pretty easily just about anywhere. But with all that said, I'm still very excited about Mini GT. I think Junimai and the Kaido House lineup shows a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see what other castings and releases come out in the future. With all that said, if I can just pass on a little DieCash intuition for you guys, if there was a brand that I was gonna pivot to outside of Hot Wheels, man, it would have to be a brand that I feel like has to already be established, has a great variety of cars, different releases, different levels of scarcity and rarity. And to be completely honest with all of you viewers, I've already started a sub collection of a brand that gives me all of this, and it is none other than muscle machines. And not the muscle machines of current day, but the muscle machines of the past. Now, you guys know I've posted pictures of muscle machines from the early 2000s on Instagram, on my community posts, but I haven't really gone through and did a full review of all of the muscle machines that I have been picking up a ton of muscle machines in the last couple of months since late last year, and I finally have a decent amount to where I think I can intelligently talk about them and share with you guys why I'm gravitating towards these older, more vintage muscle machines. I mean, here is a perfect example. MK4 Supra 1997. I mean, these diecast models just pop. Opening hood. They have disc brakes in the back. They have wheels that mimic real wheels in real life. They have crazy body kits, a lot like, I don't know, for example, MINIGT Kaido House. Exaggerated, extreme, crazy wide body, big spoilers, big fenders and arches, fully detailed interiors, full decorated bases that showcase the full exhaust and suspension components. I mean, these have it all, and they're over 20 years old. So from a collector side of things, they're already established. There's already a market for them. They're available on the secondary market. That's probably the one downside to it. You can't get them from retail stores, at least not the good version of muscle machines. I honestly believe that muscle machines were truly ahead of their time, and we, as diecast collectors, did not appreciate them. And I am honestly going back in time, basically reliving my childhood, finding a bunch of great deals on these muscle machines and picking them up to add to my collection. I mean, there's so many great things to really appreciate about these muscle machines. I mean, let's just think about things from a comparison standpoint. Let's just compare these two models right here. On the right side, you have the muscle machines Nissan Silvia S14 in purple, and then as we talked about earlier, you got this MINIGT Kaido House R33 on the left side, both with opening hoods, both with detailed wheels, both with crazy extreme wide body kits that you honestly wouldn't see in real life. However, I will say that the S14 body kit was very representative of what you saw in the 90s. On top of that, I mean, full-blown opening hood with detailed engine bays. You got detailed interiors with lots of details. I mean, you even see the amps and subwoofers in the Silvia S14. You got detailed exhaust on the rear, and both with giant GTR spoilers that you would love to throw on there just for the pure aesthetics. I mean, call me crazy, but I think these old school early 2000s muscle machines are very comparable when it comes to their character to MINIGT Kaido House. The extreme artistic design of these cars really matches what Junimai is doing in a more modern fashion. Wouldn't you guys agree? I mean, that's honestly where my head is going. And the crazy thing about muscle machines right now on the secondary market, they're averaging about $10 to $15, so just a little bit cheaper than MINIGT Kaido House cars from a retail standpoint. But I will argue that because they are older, more vintage, ahead of their time, their collectability is already established, I would personally take a muscle machines over a MINIGT. Call me crazy. I mean, if I was going to jump ship from Hot Wheels, I would pivot to the tried and true old school muscle machines. What do you guys think about that? And when you compare muscle machines of the olden days compared to Hot Wheels, you might be saying to yourself, well, muscle machines didn't have multi-packs and diorama sets like Hot Wheels did. Well, they actually did. They did it way before Hot Wheels did. Look at this 5-pack display of muscle machines, SS tuners, all JDM castings. I mean, just look. IS 300, Alteza, whatever you want to call it, muscle machines did it way before Hot Wheels did it, which it just launched for Hot Wheels late last year. You got an RX-8, you got an NSX, a Lancer, Evo, and an S2000 that honestly looks a lot more like Suki's S2K from Too Fast, Too Furious than the Hot Wheels version. A multi-pack from almost 20 years ago. Well, maybe you're interested in convention, low quantity pieces like Hot Wheels has. Muscle Machines has that too. Hobby show car, limited to 2016 pieces. I mean, just look at that. Chrome body, red, hatchback EK9. I mean, if this was Hot Wheels brand, everybody would be going gaga over this thing. Or what about car show collaborations like Auto World did with JCCS? Well, Muscle Machines already did that too. SEMA Show 2003, Las Vegas, Nevada. RSX, debut of this casting for Muscle Machines. Or maybe you're thinking Hot Wheels is the only diecast brand to do collaborations with automotive personalities. Nope, Muscle Machines did that too. RJD Vera, from the 1990s to the early 2000s, this guy was the king of aftermarket and the import scene, just having a multitude of aftermarket parts for a number of cars. And he even did this collaboration with Muscle Machines way back in the day. And the series with his name on it for Muscle Machines is actually fairly sought after. Like this NSX right here in this nice two-tone blue and baby blue Acura NSX. Or maybe you're thinking Hot Wheels is bold enough to branch out from 164 and go to 143 scale. Muscle Machines did that too. They actually even beat Hot Wheels. They went all the way up to 124 scale, fully opening diecast model, this being an MK4 Toyota Supra, opening doors, opening hood, opening trunk, fully detailed, licensing up the wazoo. Or maybe you're thinking MINIGT is tied to TSM. TSM is widely known for their very accurate and detailed 118 scales. Well, I hate to break it to you, but Muscle Machines did that too. 118 scale, fully opening, functioning, wheels moving, steering wheel functional, Nissan Silvia S15 in white in full drift deco. I mean, wow, just look at this S15 out of box, fully opening doors, trunk, hood with an RB26 under the hood with a V-mount intercooler. I mean, that's crazy detail. And I will throw out there that this 118 scale S15 in white is super rare. I mean, I was very fortunate to even find it new in box. I mean, 24 years later, still new in box. I mean, not a blemish on it. I mean, what a relic, guys, from the early 2000s. I mean, if there is a brand that I am chasing outside of Hot Wheels, it's Muscle Machines, hands down. Call me crazy, but I love it. It's from my childhood, so I honestly am a little biased towards it. I mean, I know MINIGT and Kaido House is the new hotness, but man, oh man, they do not make them like they used to anymore, guys. But that's what I got for you guys today. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time on DieCash Cars.